I'll never have anything to do with outsiders again, Sam declares with a smirk. What are you talking about? I exclaim in an absurd voice, completely unprepared for Sam's remark. Well, I heard from Agnes, but you're not Agnes's mom, right? You're an outsider, aren't you? While I am dumbfounded, Mabel stands up, slamming her hand on the desk. Enough is enough. What the heck are you? Dad, are you really okay with letting your daughter marry such a rude person? Mabel, her face red with anger, launches into a tirade. Before I can get angry, my daughter is outraged, and Kay answers with a troubled look. Mabel, calm down. Don't interfere any more than this. I embrace the excited Mabel's shoulder and glare at Sam. All right. Sam responds with a smirk to my words. Agnes, you're lucky. This outsider won't bother us anymore. The supposed-to-be fun dinner party is ruined by Sam. Mabel, who was looking forward to the family getting together for the first time in a while, finally bursts into tears. But neither Agnes nor Sam seem to care. I'll never have anything to do with people who hurt Mabel like this again. Even if Agnes defies me, she is still my daughter. I don't want to upset Agnes, but I can't forgive the two for making Mabel feel this way. As long as they treat me like an outsider, I have my own thoughts. Agnes and Sam couldn't have imagined that at this moment, they would lose everything. My name is Yolanda, and I'm 48 years old. I work as an office clerk in a friend's company. I currently live with my husband and 2 daughters, 4 of us in total. My husband Kay is 1 year younger than me, 47 years old. Before marrying me, he had a previous wife. The 2 daughters are not my biological children, but were born to Kay and his ex-wife. The elder daughter, Agnes, turns 28 this year, and the younger daughter, Mabel, is 25. When Kay and I got married, both officially became my daughters. When I met them, both were in elementary school. Having separated from their mother at a young age, the girls and I quickly became close. Kay had told me that after their marriage, the girl's mother repeatedly cheated on him. Even after Mabel was born, the bad habit showed no signs of stopping, and Kay, troubled, eventually divorced her. Busy with work to support the two, Kay could only do the minimum in raising them. Their meals often consisted of frozen food or noodles, and I tried to cook as much as possible. I also bought girl-like clothes for them and visited them as much as I could. As life went on, Kay and I decided to get married. Even while dating Kay, my parents were against it. I knew the difficulties of marrying a man with children. But I left home in a way similar to running away to be with Kay. At first, the joy of spending time together as a family of 4 outweighed the hardships. But as we got used to each other, the reasons for my parents' vocal opposition to this marriage became clear. The daughters, who used to see me as an older sister, couldn't accept me suddenly becoming their mother. They didn't take me seriously, and when Kay was away, they did whatever they wanted. But if I scolded them too much, Kay didn't like it and blamed me. You're annoyed with them because they're not your blood, aren't you? I was deeply hurt by such remarks day after day. With each occurrence, the fact that Agnes and Mabel were not my biological children weighed heavily on me. Though my relationship with Kay had its ups and downs due to how I interacted with the daughters, we never had a major rift. On the other hand, my relationship with them increasingly troubled me. As she grew up, Mabel, who was a tomboy as a child, became more supportive of me. She often helped with housework and started to treat me more like a mother than before. However, as Agnes grew older, she came to detest me. It could have been her age, but she didn't accept me as her mother. Kay's consistent response was "it can't be helped," and he never scolded Agnes for her defiance. Seeing this, Agnes probably didn't think she was doing anything wrong. Mabel, upset by this, had reprimanded Agnes several times, but Agnes's attitude towards me never improved. As she became a high school student, Agnes began to openly attack me. "You're just an outsider, can't you stop bossing me around? Who do you think you are?" So annoying. When I accepted them as my daughters, I braced myself for some difficulties, but at this rate, Agnes will never recognize me as her mother. Hey, seriously, isn't that too much? If you don't say something, we'll always be like this. Feeling the gravity of the situation, I repeatedly consulted with Kay, but he always took Agnes's side. It's only natural she can't accept you as her real mom. Why don't you try to understand that? By this time, Kay had also started openly attacking me. I understand he loves his daughter, but isn't it a parent's job to scold her when necessary? As I feared, Kay's leniency only worsened Agnes's behavior. She stopped attending high school regularly and often didn't come home. Even when Mabel somehow got in touch, Agnes would just dismiss her with "I'm with my boyfriend." It's unacceptable for a high school girl to stay over at a man's place. Even when Mabel handed me the phone, Agnes wouldn't listen to a word I said. I hesitated to tell Kay, fearing he would be shocked, but I had no choice but to discuss it with him. However, instead of helping, Kay lashed out at me. "It's your fault Agnes turned out this way." Kay was losing it, but Mabel put a stop to his attacks on me. "Dad, enough already. Mom has warned us many times, but you never said anything, did you?" Kay seemed to realize this too. Rebuked by Mabel, he clenched his fists in impotent rage and slammed the table. After that, Kay continued to turn a blind eye to Agnes's actions, deceiving himself. Mabel and I could do nothing as Agnes ended up dropping out of high school. Agnes rarely came home, and even Kay didn't clearly know what she was up to. The family was falling apart, but thanks to Mabel, Kay and I managed to stay together. Time passed, and one day, when Mabel turned 25. "Mom, Agnes is getting married," Mabel murmured as she returned from work. Agnes hardly came home since then, but Mabel regularly checked up on her. Agnes never had a stable job, but she always had a boyfriend. Now, she is finally settling down. Though we'd grown apart, I was happy to hear the good news about our family. When Kay heard about Agnes's marriage, we laughed together for the first time in a long while. Moreover, Agnes contacted us, wanting to bring her fiancé over for a direct conversation. Mabel seemed most relieved by this news. She hoped that improving relations with Agnes would mend my relationship with Kay. Despite everything, we might laugh together again like we used to. A faint hope filled my heart. A few days later, Agnes came home as promised. It had been about a year since she last came, so it was a rare family gathering. Beside Agnes stood her fiancé, dressed in a suit. "Nice to meet you. I'm Sam, dating Agnes." Sam seemed serious, but he avoided eye contact with me, focusing only on Kay and Mabel. "I apologize for the concern caused by Agnes not returning home." Sam had been dating Agnes for about 2 years, but indeed, during these 2 years, we hardly saw each other. Agnes and Sam, acting as if I were invisible, followed Kay into the living room. Noticing their behavior, Mabel frowned and looked at me. "Mom." Mabel seemed about to say something, but I took her hand, stopping her, and followed the three into the living room. We sat across from Agnes and Sam, with the table between us. For today, I had splurged on feasts, and we started chatting. "Dad, Mabel, it's been a while," Agnes said, still intentionally ignoring me. "Agnes, have you been ignoring Mom this whole time?" Mabel got upset with Agnes's attitude. "Oh, you're here." Agnes laughed artificially, and Sam, sitting next to her, joined in. Mabel was about to say more, but I stopped her. "Mabel, let it go." Mabel's mouth moved as if to say but I cut her off. "Anyway, we're here today to discuss with Dad." As if our exchange hadn't happened, Agnes turned to Sam. Urged by Agnes, Sam straightened up and spoke. "I apologize for the late greeting, but I will be marrying Agnes. I promise to make her happy." Sam looked earnestly at Kay as he spoke grandly. "Despite her being this way, I hope you'll be kind to her." At Kay's words, Agnes and Sam joyfully held hands. "Actually, there's something we want to say." Agnes prompted Sam to continue. "We will have nothing to do with outsiders anymore." Looking directly at me, Sam stated this with a smirk. "What? What are you saying?" I exclaimed in disbelief at this unexpected remark. Even if it was a joke, it was beyond an acceptable level. "Well, I heard from Agnes, you're not really Agnes's mom, right? You're an outsider, aren't you?" Sam seemed to be enjoying my reaction. Just when I thought our crumbling family might be mended, that hope was cruelly shattered. I was speechless for a while, just comparing the faces of Agnes and Sam. Then, seemingly unable to bear it any longer, Mabel stood up, slamming her hand on the desk. "Enough is enough. What are you even saying? Dad, are you really okay with your daughter marrying such a rude person?" Mabel, her face red with anger, burst out. Before I could get angry, my daughter was already outraged, and Kay responded with a troubled look. "Mabel, calm down. Don't interfere anymore." This was the first time Mabel was reprimanded by Kay for taking my side. I embraced the excited Mabel and glared at Sam. All right. The three of them exchanged glances at my words. I'll have nothing to do with people who hurt Mabel anymore. As I declared this, Kay looked a bit troubled, but Agnes and Sam burst out laughing. It's not like we're hurting Mabel, but okay. You won't be invited to the wedding, Agnes said, and Sam nodded. It's unthinkable to invite irrelevant outsiders to our special day, Sam said, having meals. Mom, it's okay. I don't want to see these people anymore, Mabel said tearfully. Agnes is dear to him, but for Kay, Mabel is also an important daughter. Mabel, don't say that. Kay stood up, disturbed by Mabel's tears, but was stopped by Agnes. Dad, let it be. Just ignore it. Kay, offered a drink by Sam, reluctantly picked up the glass, still concerned about us. I spoke to Mabel and left the living room. Mabel continued to cry, clearly shocked. The chatter of the three continued in the living room, but Mabel and I got ready and left the house. I took Mabel to my parents' house, where they had been quietly watching over us since my marriage to Kay. It felt wrong to turn to them only in times of need, but they were the only ones I could rely on now. Sorry for visiting you suddenly. My parents, surprised to see Mabel and me after so long, welcomed us with smiles. Seeing Mabel's continued tears, my mother seemed deeply pained. After explaining the situation in the living room, both my parents urged, stay here for a while. Mabel wanted this too, so we gratefully accepted their kindness. Kay kept calling, so I sent a short message to reassure him of Mabel's safety. Despite scolding Mabel at that moment, it seemed he was still worried about his daughter. Mabel, feeling betrayed by Kay siding with Agnes and Sam, couldn't forgive him. I don't want to talk to Dad, she said, with no intention of returning home. While Kay was away at work, Mabel and I packed our belongings and moved them out. We decided it was best to live apart for a while, even if we didn't divorce. Although Kay didn't apologize to me directly, it seems he was reflecting on Mabel's attitude. However, it also appeared he had no intention of blaming Agnes or Sam. As time passed, the date of their wedding was set, and the day arrived. Mabel, having been begged by Agnes and Kay, reluctantly agreed to attend the ceremony. Mom, I really don't want to go. Mabel kept complaining until the last moment, but I persuaded her. They said they would have nothing to do with outsiders, right? I want you to see them realize the meaning of their words. With my meaningful words, Mabel, though still hesitant, agreed. If you say so, I'll go. But I'll never forgive Agnes and that guy. Mabel dressed up and left for the ceremony. Upon arriving at the venue, Mabel was greeted by Kay at the entrance. Mabel! Kay was relieved to see her after such a long time, but Mabel's feelings hadn't changed. After a brief conversation, she was led to the reception hall. What's this? Am I early? Entering the hall, Mabel exclaimed in surprise, looking around. Mabel had planned to arrive just in time for the start of the ceremony to avoid talking to Agnes and Sam. Checking her watch and the invitation, there was no mistake, it was 5 minutes before the ceremony was due to start. Yet, the venue was sparsely populated, even though it was only 5 minutes to the start. The bride's side, with fewer relatives, company associates, and friends, had some relatives I had met a few times. However, most of the venue was reserved for the groom's side, where there were hardly any guests. Only a couple presumed to be Sam's parents and a few friends were there. Most of these seats were probably reserved for guests related to Sam's company. As Mabel stood puzzled, Sam's angry shouts could be heard. What the hell is going on? Turning around, Mabel saw Sam in a tuxedo, yelling at the reception. Why aren't my guests here? Was there a mistake on the invitation? Sam was berating a friend who seemed to be handling the reception, but there was no error on the invitation. Meanwhile, Agnes looked worriedly from the dressing room. As time passed the scheduled start, the venue became increasingly chaotic. Mabel, confused about what was happening, suddenly realized. Could it be because of Mom? I appeared at the venue just as Agnes and Sam were panicking. What are you doing here? Agnes, busy making phone calls with Sam due to the unusual situation, noticed me. Mabel, spotting me, rushed over. Mom! What's going on? What's all this? Mabel bombarded me with questions, puzzled by my presence and the absence of guests. Did you do something? Noticing our exchange, Sam approached us, confronting me. "Don't come any closer. Since you said you'd have nothing to do with outsiders, I made sure to decline the company of people who are also outsiders." I rebuked Sam, causing him to stop in his tracks, but he opened his mouth with an angry expression. "What are you talking about? That's not what I meant. I said I didn't want anything to do with you, an outsider." Sam, his hair in disarray, was shouting, but his outburst didn't change the situation. "Would you understand this situation if I used my maiden name? Yolanda Smith." At that moment, a look of shock crossed Sam's face. I confirmed the change in Sam's expression and continued. "By the way, my brother's name is Simon Smith." As I mentioned my brother's name, Sam's face twisted in fear. "What are you saying? Simon Smith, isn't that the name of the president of our company?" Yes, as unlikely as it may seem, Sam was an employee at the company run by my brother. Previously, when Sam came to introduce himself for marriage, he boasted about being an elite. At that time, he revealed that he worked at a major trading company managed by my brother. I was surprised at first, but of course, Sam didn't know the relationship between my brother and me. However, when Sam declared he would have nothing to do with me in the future, I decided to do this. When Mabel and I left the house, I consulted with my parents and confided everything to my brother. My brother was surprised, but said that Sam wasn't the elite he claimed to be and didn't know much about him. Later, after my brother inquired among Sam's colleagues, it turned out that Sam was mistaken about his abilities, thinking he was capable because those around him were excellent. He seemed unaware that he wasn't well regarded by his colleagues. Oblivious to this, Sam confidently invited many company associates. My brother, angered that Sam hurt me and Mabel, declared he would fire him immediately. However, remembering that Sam had discussed with Kay about inviting many company associates, I intervened. I wanted Sam to be embarrassed and to get my revenge. This would surely shatter the pride of the overconfident Sam. It would be a humiliation in front of Agnes. My brother agreed with my plan. As they wished, they would have nothing to do with me and my family, who are outsiders, from now on. Sam and Agnes were speechless upon knowing everything. Kay knew my brother ran a company, but it was unbelievable to him that it was Sam's company. "You did this on purpose, just to embarrass me." Sam glared at me, his face pale. "It's all your own doing, isn't it? Looking down on people, hurting them, and now what are you saying?" I raised my voice at Sam's victim-like tone. I really didn't want to do this. Neither my brother nor Mabel wished to ruin the future of Agnes, my daughter. Tears naturally started to flow as I thought about it. "Mom." Mabel gently placed her hand on my shoulder, filled with unresolvable feelings. "Yolanda, leave the rest to me." I turned around at the sudden voice to see my brother standing there. "Boss." My brother glanced at Sam, then addressed Agnes. "Do you remember me? You may think of me as a stranger, but both Yolanda and I have always cared deeply for you." My brother continued with a sad expression. "It might have been Sam's words, but you have your responsibility too. As an adult, you must bear that responsibility." Agnes, still in her wedding dress, looked downcast. "Sam, needless to say, you'll be leaving the company. Being a company-initiated resignation, you'll struggle in your job search with this fact." As my brother said, Sam would be questioned about his reason for leaving in future job interviews. The crime he committed this time would haunt him for life. And given Sam's high pride, it's hard to imagine him being fired without consequences. "No way! Am I getting fired?" Sam seemed to have lost his grip on reality, repeating the same words like a broken record. "Sam!" Agnes frantically shook Sam's body, but he collapsed weakly on the spot. Kay watched silently, saying nothing. Afterward, he neither complained to me nor blamed me. The venue turned into chaos due to the commotion, and neither Agnes nor Sam was in any state to continue the ceremony. I apologized to Sam's parents and friends and explained the whole situation. I thought Sam's parents would blame me and my brother, but they were furious at their son's actions and repeatedly apologized to me and Mabel. In a semi-hysterical state, Sam wept and desperately pleaded. After consulting with Sam's parents and Kay, we decided to cancel the wedding due to the disturbance. While we were busy, Sam never regained his sanity. Days after the wedding, Mabel and I had been staying at my parents' house. Mabel seemed unchanged in her thoughts, with no intention of living with Kay or Agnes again. I considered divorcing Kay, but wondered if that would be best for Mabel. I thought for a long time, but no clear answer came. However, both Kay and I somehow knew we wouldn't be together again. I thought about renting an apartment and living with Mabel, but my parents insisted we stay. They said we should live here now that we're finally together again. I accepted my parents' kind offer and decided to stay with them. Meanwhile, Sam fell into a mental breakdown and has been confined to his home. Sam, who never doubted his own excellence, was easily dismissed by my brother, his pride torn to shreds. However, I never received any blame from Sam's parents. They continued to apologize to me repeatedly. Sam's dismissive behavior towards me ultimately betrayed his own parents. Agnes, having separated from Sam, started living with Kay again. Agnes seemed to have lost all patience with Sam, who had become weak and lost everything. Even though Agnes didn't suffer as much damage as Sam, she was apparently shocked enough to return to the home she hadn't been back to in a long time. She tried to contact me multiple times to apologize, but I haven't accepted her apologies yet. I want her to fully understand how much she hurt me with her words and actions over the years. It's not a matter that can be simply resolved. Wanting her to understand this, I've steeled my heart and haven't spoken to Agnes. Mabel agrees with me and hasn't accepted Agnes's apologies either. Everyone makes mistakes, but not all can be undone. I hope Agnes, who must have had her own struggles, truly reflects on the pain she caused Mabel and me. A few months have passed since Mabel and I started our new life. There has been no progress in my relationship with Kay. However, I heard that Kay was deeply shocked by this and reflected on his actions. Since then, Agnes has been desperately job hunting and has started working. Having not worked since dropping out of high school, she's struggling quite a bit. Mabel seems a bit relieved to hear that her sister is making an effort. Thinking back, Mabel has always been on my side. She left Kay and Agnes, who are her blood relatives, to be with me. I felt it when we lived as a family of 4, but now I truly realize its value. Mabel has grown close to my parents and often helps them. Seeing my parents' smiles, which I hadn't seen for a long time, makes me happy. Though I can't live with Kay and Agnes anymore, I'm satisfied with this new life. I vow to always cherish Mabel, who has always supported me, and my parents, who warmly welcomed us.